To give us a bit of an overview about what's going on in the north, what is leading up to these elections? What's the situation? Because obviously we haven't had an awful lot of stuff going on in Stormont for quite a few years.
Yeah, so this is the first election since 2015. Polls opened this morning. They will elect 90 MLAs to Stormont. The last time they had an election, we were in our last crisis over the RHI. This promises to be...
The RHI was
the botched heating scheme.
Yes.
So with the collapsed Stormont the last time. Yeah. So this time promises to be a historic election because we know from census data and polling that this might be the first Stormont that does not return a unionist majority. Now, there's a load of reasons for that. So Brexit has poured a big thing into it. The more progressive nature of the people of Northern Ireland has taken voters away from the more traditional unionist parties, the TUV, the UUP, the DUP. But I think what is going to be the biggest thing is that the DUP are hemorrhaging voters and have been for quite a long time. So young Protestant unionist people who traditionally would have been DUP voters, their parents would have been DUP voters, are no longer voting for the DUP. They don't see themselves reflected in their policies. Brexit was deeply unpopular in Northern Ireland. The DUP backed Brexit. Northern Ireland did not. And we know with all the issues that Brexit has created in the north and along the border, that has not helped the DUP. Their support for Brexit has definitely damaged them.
So have they gone the wrong tact as well and tried to just talk about this about the divide, about the protocol, where Sinn Féin and a lot of the other parties are talking about the cost of living and trying to address things that are actually hitting people in the pocket right now?
Absolutely. So I watched the leaders' debate the other night and it was so blatant. You know, every single conversation, Jeffrey Donaldson, the leader of the DUP, kept bringing it back to the protocol, and every other single party leader kept saying, when we are on the doors, it is not the protocol people want to talk about. It is the health service in Northern Ireland is on its knees. You know, we need massive amounts of funding, waiting lists. People are taking out crisis loans to go private for very routine operations because they've been on waiting lists 5-6 years. Cost of living, fuel, all the things like the bread and butter issues that people care about in elections is what people in the north care about. The notion that the protocol, there are issues with the protocol, but it is nowhere near what the DUP are saying. But I feel like it's very clear they've backed themselves into this corner now. And you need to remember that it was the DUP who collapsed Stormont in January because they said they had issues with the protocol. It does not appear that the protocol is going to change. So what we could happen over the weekend is that the DUP are not the largest party anymore. However, it has to be a cross-community executive.
Yes.
The DUP could refuse to come back to Stormont because they say the protocol has not been sorted out, therefore they are not returning to the executive, and we might not even get a Stormont at all.
Because as you said, a First Minister, which this time could be someone not from the DUP.
It is most likely to be Michelle O'Neill from Sinn Féin.
From Sinn Féin.
In the polls, it has shown consistently that Sinn Féin are by far and away the most popular party in the north, which is historic in itself.
Yeah.
You know, it used to be...
It'll be a first ever.
The first ever. The SDLP were traditionally the biggest nationalist party. The party believed in Irish unity, with Seamus Mallon was the First Minister. This now it's likely will be Michelle O'Neill. However, if the DUP don't come back and the DUP are voted in as the second biggest party, we won't have a Stormont at all.
So they could collapse Stormont again, and that's what Micháel Martin was in front of the paper on Monday, saying to Jeffrey Donaldson, if you don't win, please, this is a democratic vote. You can't go out there and collapse Stormont again. Which means it's another step backwards.
The thing is, I would say, is that the last time Stormont collapsed, it was collapsed when Sinn Féin walked away because of the RHI. Martin McGuinness had said, no, this is it, we're not staying.
This is when Arlene Foster was the leader and First Minister.
And it was so deeply unpopular. Like, people in the north were fuming that MLAs were still getting their wages, but Stormont was not sitting. And this is when we're in a cost of living crisis. And like, we already know the rates of poverty in Northern Ireland are far higher than anywhere else in the UK. People were very annoyed. I don't know if the DUP can weather this if they collapse Stormont again.
These are huge statements because it does... What is this the first sectarian sort of an election? Because, where people are going, no, I do not care about your religious background.
It's not green or orange.
It's not green or orange. Is this what's happening? And what's going on with the Alliance Party? Because I thought they're post green or orange.
Yeah, they are. So that's the most interesting thing about it is the people who would have traditionally been. I have some of my friends who traditionally their parents would be DUP voters are not voting DUP, and they are voting for parties like Alliance, People Before Profit, the Greens, people who do not have a unionist nationalist basically outlook.
Yeah.
They are more interested in the policies. Alliance, for those not aware, are a kind of centrist, non-sectarian. Were once considered a light unionist party, not so much anymore. They have a really capable leader in Naomi Long. She's the Minister for Justice in the North. Alliance tends to always look after justice because they're seen as like a neutral arbiter. She's really popular. Alliance is very attractive to young, more middle class people. And as people in Northern Ireland get more educated and get a bit more money, that's the kind of parties that they're starting to vote for. The other issue is when the DUP started noticing that they were losing voters, you have to make a decision, okay, we need to set ourselves apart. And instead of sliding to the centre, they slid way more to the right because they thought that we need to shore up this very unionist base that we have always had. People who've been left behind by the Good Friday Agreement, people in loyalist communities, we're going to go slide more to the right. And even I was looking at the Facebook ad spend for the parties in Northern Ireland yesterday, and the Protocol and Sinn Féin are mentioned by the DUP in the majority of their ads. It's very much be afraid of Sinn Féin. Michelle O'Neill is going to be the First Minister. It's to panic the traditional unionist people into voting for them.
Do you worry that if Michelle O'Neill gets into... Sinn Féin becomes the number one party there, DUP decide to collapse government, which could cause DUP to collapse. So the orange side of things, it could lead to a lot of trouble because Sinn Féin make no bones about it. They want a border poll. So, but with the DUP collapsing and falling away again, they might have nowhere else to have a voice, that this could lead to trouble down the line?
I feel more, when I was watching the leaders' debate the other night, they were talking about a border poll, and Michelle O'Neill was very clear. She was like, I don't have a date for a border poll. It's not that Sinn Féin are going to go on and say, OK, United Ireland by this time next year, whatever. They're very much like, we need to plan, and we want the unionist communities to be involved in that planning. We want white papers, we want research. But I do agree with you. We have seen that a small minority of loyalists and unionists who claim to be, put out by the protocol or whatever, we've seen the trouble that we've had over the last couple of summers. I know we have trouble every summer, but, it's getting bad in the worst couple of summers.
But are there rumblings we could have violence if Sinn Féin are the largest party in the North?
I don't think it's that clear cut. I would be more worried about the DUP and what they decide to do in terms of if there's no Stormont and then the cost of living gets higher, poverty gets worse. That's what drives people into taking action, and I don't think it's as clear cut as that. I hope it doesn't get there, but it's all they play for, and the DUP leader would not say at the leaders' debate the other day whether he was coming back to Stormont. He was asked about 10 times.
That's not it.
Oh, as murky as ever. Listen...